Think about how a strong student tackles a tough problem. Before diving in, they pause and recall a couple of similar problems they've solved before, and use those as a guide for the new one. A technique from Yasunaga and colleagues at Google DeepMind in 2023 teaches a language model to do exactly that. It's called analogical prompting, and the twist is that the model generates its own examples instead of you supplying them by hand. Let's unpack how that works and why it helps. Now, to see what's new here, put the usual approach next to this one, because the shift is in who writes the examples. The standard way is manual few shot. For every task, you handwrite a set of worked exemplars to show the model how it's done. That works, but it's laborious and task-specific, and someone has to curate fresh examples for each new problem type. Analogical prompting removes that chore. Instead of you supplying examples, the model recalls its own relevant solved problems, generating both the problems and their solutions itself. The exemplars are tailored to each question, so no manual curation is needed. Here's the thing. The method runs in a simple recall-then-solve sequence. First, the model reads the target problem, the actual question you want answered. Nothing is prepended yet, no handwritten examples, just the problem itself sitting in a prompt waiting to be worked through. That's the whole starting point, an empty stage with only the question on it. Then it's instructed to recall a few relevant solved examples. The model generates those itself, both the example problems and their work solutions, picking ones that resemble the target rather than any generic set. Next, it studies those self-generated analogies. They act like guidance, reminding the model of the pattern and the steps that tend to work for problems shaped like this one, right before it commits to an approach. In effect, the model is warming itself up on the right kind of reasoning before it even touches the real question. Finally, it solves the target problem using those analogies as a template. Because the exemplars were tailored to this exact question, they steer the reasoning better than fixed, one-size-fits-all few-shot examples. It's a self-generated, adaptive form of few-shot prompting, and it needs no example bank prepared in advance. So what makes analogical prompting work? 3 ideas carry it, and they build on one clean insight. The model writes its own exemplars. Rather than waiting for you to supply examples, it produces relevant solved problems on its own, right inside the same prompt. That single shift is what removes the human bottleneck, since nobody has to sit down and craft demonstrations for every new kind of task anymore. Those examples are tailored per question. Because they're created fresh for each problem, they fit better than a generic fixed set, and you skip manual example curation entirely. A fixed set of exemplars is a compromise across many questions, whereas these are chosen to resemble the exact problem in front of the model. It works like a student recalling before solving. Remember related problems first, then use them as guidance, and only then attempt the answer. It shines on reasoning tasks where relevant analogies actually exist, and the effect grows with scale because larger models generate better, more relevant exemplars. All right, here are the essentials to carry away from this one. Analogical prompting from Yasunaga and colleagues at Google DeepMind in 2023 makes the model generate its own examples. Instead of supplying exemplars, you let the model first recall a few relevant solved problems it generates itself, then solve the target using them as guidance. Because those examples are tailored to each specific question, it beats generic fixed few-shot examples and needs no manual example curation at all. It works best on reasoning tasks, and larger models produce better exemplars. If you enjoy AI methods explained clearly, we publish plenty more over at Standarity.com. Catch you in the next one.